In this video, I'm going to be reviewing one of the best books that I've read probably in my life, and it's called The Coddling of the American Mind: How Good Intentions and Bad Ideas Are Setting Up a Generation for Failure. And this book is actually co-authored by two authors, Jonathan Haidt and Greg Lukianoff, and it's really not really financially focused for the most part, but I just thought it was such an important book, and I really thought the message was super important for everyone to hear and maybe just think about a little bit, and I think everyone would really benefit from reading this book. Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Frank Mularcik, and like I mentioned, this book really isn't about finances or investing, but I really just wanted to talk about it because I think the message behind it is super important. So basically, the basic premise of the book is that there are some trends that the authors have been noticing just on college campuses and throughout our society that they basically think are unhealthy ways for people to be thinking, and that this is setting people up for a bad society basically. And so they're talk about why exactly that happens and some proposed solutions. So we're going to get into a little bit of the specifics here, and I hope you enjoy it. So the first author is Greg Lukianoff. He's an attorney, a New York Times bestseller, and his most prominent position, I guess, is the president of an organization called FIRE, which stands for the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education. And it's actually pretty funny since, FIRE is, a movement here in the investing space, financial independence, retire early. So I thought that was kind of funny. But basically, this organization is just focused on advocating for free speech on college campuses and all that kind of stuff. So pretty important stuff, I think. And then the second author is Jonathan Haidt, and he's a social psychologist. He studied at Yale and the University of Pennsylvania, and then I think he taught at the University of Pennsylvania, the University of Virginia, and now he's at New York University. And he's actually written a few different books on psychology, and one of them I actually read a few years ago, which is called The Righteous Mind: Why Good People Are Divided by Politics and Religion. And that is another great book. I highly recommend that, but I'm not going to get into that here. So basically, these guys co-authored this book, and a few years ago, I think they wrote this book in 2018, and around 2014, they wrote like an article for some newspaper, journal, magazine about the basic premise of the book, and then basically they saw some of these things coming back again and again, so they basically decided to dedicate an entire book to the subject. So the best way I would summarize the book is saying that it's just about logical fallacies in people, in ways of thinking that they have noticed in their encounters with, mostly college students and professors, but also just a lot of stories that have made national headlines. And they've also drawn on research that other people have done in this subject and used their knowledge base as well. So they categorize these logical fallacies they're noticing into the three great untruths, which are basically concepts and ideas that they're seeing a lot of people embrace and that they think are completely false and sort of the opposite of what is actually true. So the first one is the untruth of fragility, which says what doesn't kill you makes you weaker. The second one, the untruth of emotional reasoning, always trust your feelings. And the untruth of us versus them, life is a battle between good and evil people. And I'm trying to connect this a little bit to investing, especially with the untruth of emotional reasoning, always trust your feelings. That's sort of something that in the investing world, we advocate for, or we encourage people to make investing decisions based on facts and knowledge, not based on emotion, and you got to be aware of your emotions and keep them in check so that they don't screw you over when you're investing, and maybe some positions are going negative or the stock market's going south. You gotta stick to your guns and stick to the facts of the situation instead of your feelings or your emotions there. So I thought that was an interesting connection to investing. So they also lay out these guidelines for making an untruth, and then they basically show with all of these guidelines how these concepts are incorrect, basically. So they use ancient wisdom to basically say that these untruths contradict ancient wisdom, and they use modern psychology to show that these untruths contradict basically the teachings of modern psychology, and they show that the great untruths harm their individuals and communities who embrace it. So even though these people are believing these ideas, in the end it's basically harming them, is what they're saying. So they basically split the book up into 4 sections. And so the first section is basically an in-depth explanation of each of these great untruths that they came up with, and they go in depth over all those criteria I mentioned, and basically explain how they're untrue and not good ideas that people should be following. And then the second section of the book is basically called Bad Ideas in Action, and it's just basically not really a list, but a compilation of a bunch of different incidents that have happened over the past 5 or 10 years, on college campuses and in other places where they're just noticing these things are happening, and why those are examples of specific instances of the great untruths. And then the third section of the book is getting really deeper into the issue and focuses on how we got here. It's called How Did We Get Here? And it's basically just explores 6 key factors that they think are contributing to this change in thinking that they're seeing among younger students these days. And then the final section obviously is a basically resolution, or what we can do to change these problems and fix these problems a little bit in our society. And as a college student, as someone who's probably going to have kids someday, that's really the most important thing for me is, we understand that we're here, we understand it's probably not a good place to be, and now we need to look to the future and figure out how to change that and then work to change that. So that's really important. So I personally really enjoy this book because I've seen a lot of the things that they're talking about sort of unfolding over the last few years, and I've seen specific examples in my schools and across the news media, and I pretty much agree with them that these things aren't healthy for our society. And I really enjoyed the fact that they tried really very hard not to make it a political statement, or they tried not to take sides politically. They really did a good job of calling out everyone and being unbiased in their assessment of who's causing problems, and just saying this is what happened and this is who did something wrong in this instance, and then in this other instance someone else did something wrong, So it's not like they're just taking sides and placing all the blame on one side or the other, or placing the blame on just one group of people. They really pointed out that it's just a problem that's evolved over time, and it's just a big problem that we all have to deal with. We can't just say, well, they need to fix this, or they need to change the way they're thinking. We all have to work to fix this together, and that's what I really like. So I definitely would really recommend everyone read this, especially if you're involved in the school system at all, if you're a student, if you're a teacher, a professor, anything like that. I just really thought this was super insightful into how some of these recent trends are shaping our society. I will leave an Amazon link in the description if you are interested in purchasing it. I just got it from my local library, so I don't feel obligated, but if you are going to purchase it, you might as well use my link and support me a little bit, and that would be greatly appreciated. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little book review. I know it wasn't financially related at all, but I think it definitely has some relationship to investing, and managing your money at the same time. So if you do have any comments or questions about the book, make sure to leave them in the comments below, and I'll definitely reply. And if you do want to see some other videos of mine, check them out up here on the screen, and I will see you in the next one.